All right, we'll get right to it right away. Let me just set up the context. First, of course, there will be spoilers for Halloween Ends. What do we mean by junkyard scene? Well, long story short, what will happen is there will be a physical confrontation between Corey, Michael, Allison, and Laurie. Essentially, real Michael and Laurie will fight one another, but then the fight moves on to the junkyard and it becomes very intensely violent and is sort of a very bloody conclusion to Halloween Ends. There may be additional scenes when the movie finally comes to us, but the junkyard essentially will be where Michael will die and be thoroughly beaten. Do we have any additional evidence that this will happen? Yes. Now, I've already noted that there is behind the scenes photo. The director has talked about Christine, so on and so forth. But now we have a little bit of extra information that pushes us down this path. It's not much, but it is, quote, an official part of the movie. Essentially, some of the music has been leaked that will be used for Halloween Ends. The music is by John Carpenter and his son. It appears real enough, so a Twitter account got access to the titles of some of the music, and it does give us clues to some of the other scenes. But critically, yes, one part of the soundtrack will be about the junkyard. Now, of course, can I confirm this is real yet? No. But we should be getting access to the Halloween Ends music soon, so we'll probably find out soon enough.
Corey and Michael. Corey's so important, you guys. What's gonna happen? Why are Corey and Michael together? Number 12. No, sorry, that was number 12. Number 13. Corey's Requiem. Whatever that means. 14. The Junkyard. The Junkyard. I heard that, spoiler alert, well, if you guys are already this far into the video, you know that there's spoilers, that this film and the final fight will take place in a junkyard.
If this is correct, now let's start off with the skeptical account, which is okay, there is a junkyard scene, but it's not necessarily this final fight scene where basically Michael will be torn apart. Because there's definitely a lot of leaks that Corey and Michael will have some kind of confrontation, but Corey will want to help Michael. So it could be Corey is leading Michael to the junkyard, and the track is just moody music about Michael being at the junkyard. Corey brings some victims are killed off, so on and so forth. So, yes, there will be a junkyard scene, but it's not a final scene or a final fight scene. So, there is that, but given the preponderance of evidence, and if there's enough evidence skewing one way, then in all probability, that is what will happen. I think overall, most of the evidence is pointing to the junkyard scene. Now, that doesn't mean it will come out as bloody or as torturous or with as much Christ imagery as I've said. It could be they're going to trim it a little bit, they're going to pull back on some of the more extreme features, but we will have, yes, this final junkyard confrontation scene. So let me provide a few more details. And again, these are allegations. I can't fully confirm them, but they are supported by a whole lot of other channels and some of the other leaks and even some official media. So at the end, this is not at the junkyard, but essentially apparently somehow Laurie gets a lucky hit in, stabs Michael in the face. Either he collapses right away or collapses after a little bit more fighting. He and Allison put him in the car. They drive him to the junkyard and continue the assault. As we all know, famously, Michael can be beaten and hurt, collapse, but he gets up again. So presumably they are there to finish the job. They just assail him with a lot of weapons. They use vehicles. Apparently, sometimes they may use a truck. Jamie Lee Curtis has talked about she used a tractor in the production of Halloween Ends. So they're going to basically use insane amounts of violence against Michael. The only big question will be finally if the townspeople will join in on essentially destroying Michael and his body. One version may be it's mainly going to be Allison and Laurie just attacking Michael, attacking him, and just destroying his body. The alternative is Michael is going to get strung up at a kind of Christ-like position. They will crucify him, and the townspeople will join in. they will have weapons and just constantly beat Michael's body. And after a certain point, he's definitely dead, but they would just continue destroying the body, destroying the body, destroying the body. So it's pretty categorically clear. So it's going to be categorically clear. Michael is dead. He is gone. There is no coming back from that. He cannot, quote, survive this. And presumably there will be a final unmasking. He's pronounced dead, and it is over. So at least the Michael Myers threat, in terms of the trilogy, is gone. That will be the catharsis for this entire story that we've been having for this whole trilogy. Now I'm getting this information from That's What I Said, and some other people have also pondered what the conclusion will be, and that it will be this kind of very violent junkyard scene. And he's kind of torn about it. He thinks it's not really a good idea, and I join him. But we differ on why it's not a good scene, or it's not a good idea. I think in principle it could work, but I'm fearful for two reasons. One is the comedy. Throughout this whole trilogy, they've often tried to mix comedy with violence, or just comedy in general. And for me, for the most part, the jokes and comedy have not worked. Some of it is fine, it makes sense. Halloween does have jokes, it's not totally serious. But I felt overall their attempts to be humorous are pretty poor and stupid. So I'm fearful they're going to try to mix a lot of comedy with this final scene, and it will just feel very, very strange and odd. The second objection would be this might not get the message I think they've been trying to have throughout the whole trilogy, that if there is this thing about mob violence, beyond a certain point, if you're just beating Michael and beating Michael, yes, he's Michael Myers, yes, he's evil, he clearly can't be contained, so you don't have any alternatives but to kill him, this entire group of people, and just basically beating a helpless victim, that might make us sympathize more with Michael than with Laurie, so it makes Laurie more of a villain than a hero. Maybe that's intentional to try to do a kind of reverse, and she goes from final girl to sort of the equivalent of Michael Myers, like she becomes a monster. Maybe that's the whole thematic point, but I don't know. That just seems kind of strange and odd. There's going to be a lot of ways they can play it. Green has confirmed they're still playing with the exact ending, so maybe they're going to play with how much violence, how intense and gory it will be. Will there be an unmasking? Will there not be an unmasking? Who will be behind the mask? Will it be Nick Castle? Will it be James? Will it be the copycat? Will it be another super twist? Don't know. But that is the essentials of what will happen with Halloween Ends. Good or bad, there will be this very violent junkyard scene. I highly doubt they did an entire track of music just to do a much more plain scene. So it probably will be at the conclusion, and it will be very bloody and I think very polarizing for the audience.